if you'll indulge me on the technology side, because I think this is an industry that could really use some technology, but I also think it's one that's kind of realizing that, and they are moving that way, some faster than others. But talk to me a little bit about maybe some of the areas that you're seeing technology implemented into the center.
I agree. I definitely think we've watched probably in the past 10 or 15 years or so, the industry finally accepted they have to be on top of this, right? It
Hmm.
was putting in digital scoring systems was pulling teeth for people. It
Right.
was a change from running all of these old analog systems and cables and everything else to you have just a network Ethernet cable running everything now. And it cleaned up a lot of stuff and expanded the potential for what you could do with a bowling center, with what you could do with just the pins and the lanes and the ball, right? It allowed us to adapt to a new demographic that was coming up that was less interested in the sport, the sort of higher echelon of bowling, and more
Right.
interested in just the fun, the family, and the friendly competition with friends or college students or roommates or whatever it was. And so pushing into that has helped us adapt demographics and just be more efficient. A lot of centers who struggle, I think, with even things just like point of sale and like adapting technology to the boring parts of business, which is, hey, how can we gather more data about our sales, about our customers for how they spend and how they want to spend, and use that to make better business decisions? That can be a challenge. And especially if you don't have any way or idea of how to get that information, you're kind of left floundering. It's just, well, what do
Right.
we do? Where do we get this? And so that's where occasionally going out and talking to a million vendors at Bowl Expo or something like that is useful, right? Like seeing what is out there and understanding, like, okay, even if 80% of this doesn't really apply to me, if you can find one or two things and go, okay, maybe this is something we should try. Like it may work, it may not work. Sometimes you got to spend money and sometimes you kind of just got to let it die, but you learn something. And we're back
Hmm.
to if you keep pushing on the innovative areas, you will find ways to make it a better business. So I think for the next sort of up and coming bits, this is we went over the stuff that has happened going forward. I see a lot more automation hitting us faster than I think a lot of people are going to be comfortable with as labor prices increase, as everything else. I mean, out here, I don't know where it is for most of your audience, but you can get a job at Del Taco down the street for $18 an hour. That
Yeah.
makes customer service reps pretty hard to find for college
Right.
students. So things like I know Cubica just released a new kiosk system. That's going to be a lot, right? That if you can shave off 30-person line at your front desk and make that easier, you're improving customer experience, you're improving reliability of service there, and you can have less people staffed. And so it's finding the balance of when do we use technology to make this an actually better experience for our customers without sacrificing the actual personal experience as well. You
Right.
still have to have
Mhm.
customer service people. You still have to have people out there interacting with your customers, or they're just going to feel abandoned. They're going to feel not attended to. So another tech piece, everything from that to like bar. We installed the first metered gun system here, I think 25 years ago. And holy crap, it's been a genius move on our part just because you can watch your inventory and your shrinkage and everything else just disappear. So it's trying to find ways to apply technology to boring areas helps a lot. That's just sort of the business analytics piece of this is knowing what information to look at is super helpful. And then knowing how to apply technology to those problems, that part's much harder. So
Mhm.
it's going to be a process.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there other examples you can think of places you guys have used technology? Maybe some of these other boring examples that other people could do today and to implement either POS or online reservations, online ordering,
Yes,
things
web
like that.
reservations. That was my next line item. We were not early to that. We were starting it forward, and our GM initially was, I think, a little hesitant. We were so busy a lot of times anyway that he just saw it as something else to complicate things, and he was just trying to keep fires from exploding and trying to keep things going. And we
Right.
finally got him into doing it. And to his credit, he likes the revenue we get out of that. And we went from doing 1,000 to $3,000 a month in online reservations to averaging about 50, 60,000 a month in reservations. And then
Wow.
during the past probably 6 to 8 months, has been somewhere around 100,000 a month in reservations and
Wow.
just web res.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and that allows you to fill those little gaps. And again, it's automation.
Mhm.
It's one more phone call that your sales staff can focus on bigger parties and bigger groups and use
Exactly.
that time wisely. If your phones are ringing off the hook all the time, you got to weed through the single double lane things that just are going to be boilerplate, and you don't need to have that conversation.
Exactly.
And it's a revenue
Or
source.
if it's outside of business hours.
Yeah. Sometimes you get college students who want to book a reservation at 10 o'clock at night. They're not calling anybody then, because even if we have people at the desk, but I guarantee you they're not looking to answer phones because they're dealing with 40 people at the door.
And college kids still make calls anyway.
Yeah,
They don't want to talk on the phone.
They're not even going to text you. So
Right.
who cares? Yeah, you got to have an online presence. You got to have the ability to see and interact with your customers in a way that is comfortable to them. Like we may not like it. We may not feel comfortable with what it is in certain occasions, but they're the market, right? The adage of the customer is always right is not about the person yelling at you at the front desk.
Right.
It's about what your market trend says.
Yeah.
What does your customer base want? And if you can't adapt to that, if you can't provide what your customer base wants, your only options are you stop being a functioning business or you find a different customer base. And for a lot of businesses, that's not possible anymore. So we have to keep adapting, and you have to meet your customer where they're at.
Absolutely. Yeah. The pluralistic customer is always right. Maybe not an individual customer.
Yes. Yeah. Rarely is the individual customer right.
Right. Yeah.
Holy smokes. Yes.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about the online reservations is what has that done for your average ticket? Because I hear a lot of theories about how separate purchases almost it like wipes clean the slate of the purchase because it's like a week or a few days prior. And when they come in the building, they're willing to spend even more. What effect have you seen on your average ticket from that perspective?
I would have to pull the exact numbers on that. It's a measurable increase. And I don't want to give you a percentage because I don't want to mislead you. But yes, we have observed that exact same trend. The psychological separation between I've paid X and it's a week later, even 2 days later, people just forget what they spent a second ago. Oh, well, now I'm just doing this. I've already paid for it. What's another $20? What's another couple of cocktails? What's another anything else? Removing friction between your customer and spending money is always going to be a better idea, and not lumping it into a giant sum right when you get there is a good way to remove friction. The on-lane ordering systems and finding ways to make sure people can quickly do value adds and again increases your average ticket price. If they want to order drinks, making sure you're attentive with whether it's lane waitresses or anything or anybody who's down there serving people in the lanes. It's one less step of friction. They don't have to get up. They don't have to do anything else. Their car's already in file. They don't even have to think about pulling it out again. These little things you can do require some initial setup, but for the most part, it's not that complicated a process once it's going.
Hey, did you like this video? Great. We make 10 of them a week. Subscribe to learn more and keep learning about what's working in the industry. Talk to you then.